Welcome to Finger Motoring. I'm Joshua Garrett, and today we're going to do the first DIY on the FRS, and it's RGB LED interior lighting with a full controller. So let's get started with the material list. First thing you're going to need is your LEDs and an LED controller or a button. Single color, you can run it off a button. RGB, you can. If you're trying to manage two strips of colors, like say you put red and blue, get a 2-channel controller. It'll do all your fading and all that. If you have one color, just get a single channel controller. If you're doing RGB, well, obviously you need an RGB controller. You also need various cutters, crimpers, like you need heat shrink tubing, you'll need soldering gun, solder, 3M tape because you're replacing the tape that comes on the LEDs because that's where it fails. Electrical tape, maybe, I didn't use any, but you might. And various tools and stuff like that to take body panels apart, to access areas, to get, you know, it took a 10 mil to pull back a factory bolt to be able to put in the ground, and so on and so forth. Something to clean with, and that's basically it. Difficulty, I'm going to give this 1 out of 5 because the only part that is any difficult at all really is probably trying to fish the wire around your interior. Time, anywhere from an hour to 4, depending on how many LEDs, how many body panels you got to take apart, how difficult it is to get a wire from the battery to the controller, or finding a ground, or, you know, plus if this is the first thing you've ever done, it's going to take you a little bit longer. That's fine. Take your time, enjoy yourself, and let's move on. Alright, now it's pretty simple to do this. I know I want it right here because plenty of space, and the other side is almost identical to this. So I'll take this, put it up here, run it across. That's maximum length, and as you can see, it obviously sits in the middle of one of those LED sections. So we will have to move it down, center it, and cut it here. So grab your clippers, your wire cutters, which I probably didn't tell you needed, but you do, of course, you're working with electrical. And you can see that black line right there. That's where you're going to want to cut. So now you know you have this length. You need to repeat this process every single time for every place you're putting LED. Before you even worry about anything, we need to get the adhesive from this gone. The adhesive on this is the failure on all of these LEDs. It's not thick enough, so it can't really bond into the textured plastic. Some of them come apart clean, some of them come apart really icky. Yeah, this one's going to do it too. Might be because, I don't know, these are brand new, just ordered them in. Oh, no, it stayed on this one. Crap. Yep, see? Now it's sticky. So I'm going to have to try to carefully, without destroying anything. There we go. See, this thin ass crap, it has got to go. So I had to go to Walmart and buy whatever they had, and it was too thick. So just like when I put my car together and redid some of the weather stripping, or the double-side sticky tape that was on stuff, I will be cutting this down. So I'm going to cut it in half, and it'll go the full length of the strip. You need to make sure it goes the full length because you don't want any of the electrical connections exposed. Now I will stick this on there. I'm going to press it as I go, making sure it's decently flat and it's decently aligned. So your objective is to get a little dab of solder on all 4 of these. Let me get It's actually fairly, missed it. Stupid solder. This soldering gun is horrible. Just put a little bit on the end of the soldering gun and then touch it, and it sticks. Or it falls off and sticks where it's not supposed to. That too. There you go. Now to prep the wire, I simply stripped the wire back, and they are labeled BRG 12 volt. 12 volt, I'm using black. Go ahead and check your wire lengths. These actually are slightly too long. So I will trim back the wire lengths slightly. Here, yep, see, fits nice and snug around it, because you're going to go up to the edge right there when you shrink it. Now cut you a small piece of it. Loop it over the wire, poke the wire through it, and just let it sit down there. You don't need it yet. Now let's start soldering all of these. Now the reason we put the solder on the joint is because then all we have to do is press on the wire. Well, I say that in theory. This doesn't seem to want to heat it up. There we go. And it'll set it in place to make it a whole lot easier. Now once it melts, you need to hold it just for a split second to allow it to cool, and as soon as it cools, it's on there. A little bit more solder on that power wire. Nope, go back where you're supposed to belong. That's why I hate doing these. And there you have it. I'm going to go ahead and prep the surface. I'm taking alcohol. I'll be wiping the surface. And you're just looking for any kind of dust, debris, anything like that. You pull your climb up underneath here. Make sure you're going straight across. Make sure it's all lined up perfect. And start sticking it. This is the controller. You will have your power and ground, your power coming from the battery, and then your just ground. Some of these, let's see, yeah, you can use a power connector for like a cigarette lighter or whatever, a USB port. I'm going to be running the power from the battery and trying to find a ground somewhere up in here. There's probably somewhere that I can use. And these are the 4 wires that are from the LEDs. Now I'm just going to zip tie it up in there because I will have to cut the zip ties to drop it back down to get to it really easily when I go to wire in the headlights and the underglows. But there is plenty of room in all 4 of these ports for 3 wires. You're just going to have to strip them back a little bit extra further to be able to fit them in there. No big deal, no problem at all. Uses a small flathead to go ahead and turn them down to tighten them up, loosen them up, whatever. And it's going to be kind of hard to show you this because it is way up underneath the dash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run all the wires, and then I'm going to show you where I ran them from, how I ran them, and how it's plugged in. To show you before I do all this and cover it all back up, found a nice factory ground right here. Simply ran the ground wire there, and it will follow up and be hidden by the panels. Before I stuffed this box up in there, I went ahead and decided to test everything. You can see, yep, they're working just fine on both sides. I got the 4 wires connected there, and they are in a different order than the LEDs. Power and ground going in there, and the power, you can see, I poked a tiny little hole through the factory little piece there, if it'll ever focus, because it probably won't. And then it runs out to the battery. Oh, and that'd be it. So you are done. And I would like to thank NWA Custom Audio and Lighting in Bentonville, Arkansas for supplying all the parts for this DIY. It's great to have them on board with the new car. And they will be in the next few videos, actually. They're sponsoring quite a few videos. So, troubleshooting, because that's what I think I need to get into. It's going to be hard for me to answer every single little individual question, so I'm going to try to cover them now. Say all of your lights, green works, red and blue doesn't, but they're purple. That tells you the red and blue lead are stuck together somewhere. If it's all your system, that means it can only be two places. Either at the controller, which they're separated really well, it shouldn't be at the controller, or at that first connection. Now in this car it'd be up there. So say this one strip works, but this strip has a color problem. That means it's either the connection here or the connection over on the first connection on this side. It allows you to know that by the color mixing that it's not working right. So you get the system up and running immediately. Press red, press green, press blue. Make sure you have all individual colors on all strands. That tells you everything works. Everything's perfect, everything's fine, you're good to go. Say you don't have power. Say you're pressing this and the power button doesn't work. Now generally with these controllers, the second you plug them in the first time, they will immediately turn on. Helps with diagnosing stuff, because say you press the power button, mine they went off, now they come on. Say you press it, nothing happens, or the buttons don't work, nothing seems to be working. It's probably the remote. Make sure you remove the plastic from the battery. The battery's already installed, there's just a plastic piece protecting it so it doesn't make a positive connection or maybe negative connection. I'd assume it's positive. Pull that out, say it's still not working. Okay, so with these remotes, I don't remember off the top of my head. I was kind of hoping I would have that problem so I could videotape it, but it's usually the light buttons or the quick slow button. You'll press and hold those, and that's one of those syncs it up, or maybe you have to press and hold both of them. I'm not exactly sure. I'd assume it's one or both. If you have any other questions, hit a comment, send me a message, whatever, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. I get them all on my cell phone, so I should be able to get to you decently quick. YouTube's a little bit slower because 90% of the time I don't get emails about it, and for some reason the push messaging to my phone either doesn't work or isn't programmed into their app, so it doesn't work. Now, that is literally it. I thought I was going to say something else, but I don't remember, so I'm going to let y'all go, and have a great day, and enjoy your cool new dilly majiggy. Dilly jobber, or something. Yeah.
Well, folks, it's time to kick it old school. So you can feel cool.